When you are ready to send out your form, you've got all your content the way you like it, you've previewed it and actually taken the survey yourself to see how it flows, and you're happy with it, and you've taken the time to click the settings and you've configured these areas as needed, you're now ready to send the form out. That's the third phase. So when we click send, here are the settings you want to pay attention to. If you want to automatically collect the username of the people who are taking this form, this is assuming that the form is being sent out to people in our school district, then you leave this box checked. That way, if you did what I did and you actually forgot to put a first name, last name field in here, people aren't entering their first and last names, you can still match the answers with at least a username. If you take this off, I would highly recommend, especially if you take that off and in the settings, if you're not collecting the email address, well, now it's really truly anonymous. There is absolutely no way to connect the responses to a person. So if you're not collecting email addresses and you're not collecting usernames, but you still need to identify that, then don't forget to build in a short question at the top for first name and last name. So here's first name, that's required. I'll build in a second one. This is also a short answer. This is last name, required. And that way then when I preview the form, I can see that people have to enter their first and last names. So be careful to check for that. I've seen a lot of people who have sent out forms and only to get back the results, and they can't tie the results to the people they need to tie it to. All right, so assuming you've done all that, you're now ready to send. When you click that send button and you've configured this box the way you want it, you have some choices here. You can either send it via email, and then you can enter in the person's email address right here, and the subject line, please take this form by this Friday. And then if you want to include a message, thanks a lot, whatever you like here. All right, that's one way of doing it. If you don't want to send it through email, but rather you want to create a link, maybe you want to put this form on a teacher website so that a lot of members of the public can take it. So then you would click link, and here is the link that you would include on your website or on any social media. Now, speaking of social media, some of them want shorter characters, so you do have an option here to click shorten URL, and now this is the same link to the form except it's in a shorter version. I think that looks a little less intimidating than this big long link right here. Keep in mind, however, if you're putting a link to your form out on, say, your website, or you're sending it out to parents, you want to be sure that your parents can take this form. Parents don't often have Google accounts that are in our domain, so be sure that back on the settings that you don't have it restricted to just the McGuanago Area School District users, because if that's checked off, then parents or the community can't take your form. So I would take that off for any parent or community forms, and then back in my send button, then when I send that person, that community member or parent, this link, they can take the form. Finally, this last item, this is a bit more advanced. This is an embed code that those of you who are comfortable enough working with some web languages, you can actually embed this form right into a website, and you can adjust the height and the width of how it looks, but that's a little bit more of an advanced option. Finally, they give you some options to share via Google+, Facebook, or Twitter. So those are your sharing options, and once you send that form out, the last thing that you want to be sure of is that the form is turned on. Now, by default, when I click the responses button, by default the form is turned on. If you, for whatever reason, need to stop collecting answers from people, you can turn this off, and then it gives you a very obvious message that even if they tried, they could not submit their form because you are no longer accepting the responses. So just verify that is good to go, and that is how you send out your form.